welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be the first long form content that I have sat down and filmed for this channel in probably 5 or more years. Sorry it's been so long. I am wanting to get back into posting videos, so let's see if I can do that this year. I have also started posting on a YouTube collab channel called Unfiltered IRL. I will have that linked down below and on the inslate at the end of this video if you want to check that out. Today I'm wanting to talk about the books that I read in 2025, like a reading wrapped for the year. My goal was to read 100 books, which I did not do, but I read 73 out of 100, which is the most I have ever read in a year. So honestly, like, good job to me. That's amazing. And for 2026, I'm dropping the bar a bit. I'm wanting to go back to school, so I'm only estimating to read 50. However, we're not done with January and I've already read 10, so I might surpass that. Let's go through the 73 books that I've got listed here, and I'll tell you just a little bit. I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but I'll let you know if they were my favorites, if I'm going to reread them, if you should read them, or maybe even listen to them. Just try to do as quick as possible as we can of a recap for 73 books. Let's get started. I was using Goodreads for this year. I do want to switch to something else. This has just been easier. Maybe I'll switch soon. The dates are not all correctly input in here, so these may not be in the perfect order. Like, the first I have listed is Crave by Tracy Wolff. I know this was not the first book that I read this year, but honestly, this is like a favorite for me. I do love vampire books, love Twilight. The Vampire Diaries books, not so much, even though I love the TV show. Crave is really good. It's different than anything I'd read before because I guess I don't want to, I'll take back that spoiler I was about to say. It has gargoyles, it has all of these different creatures that the supernatural books I've read before did not include, so that made it more interesting. And I love that they were like thick books. They're 4 or 5 of them or something. I do recommend Crave. That's probably like my top 5. Then I read It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was pretty popular going around, as well as It Ends With Us. I read both of those, and it had the movie that came out, which was making it more popular. Now, I'm not like a big Colleen Hoover fan. I know. Like, it's a good read, I guess, but not a favorite. Like, you don't need to read it if you don't want to. Then I read the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I love all of her books. There's only been a few that were not like my favorite, but I do like the Twisted books a lot. Then I've got the rest of the Crave series. I read Court, I read Covet, I read Crush. Love all those. I will probably reread them here soon, but in a different order. I'll read the first book and then the book when they're trapped in like the gargoyle state and go that way to see what difference it makes. I have listened to Kamala's book, The Truths We Hold: An American Journey. I really liked listening to that. I am going to start law school this year, and it talks a lot about like her journey in the legal industry. Really, she was doing so much good. I don't know how people could talk so negatively about her. Her whole career for many years is helping people in need, lower income, people who don't have help. She is so sweet. I loved all the insight in her book. I read by Anna Huang If We Ever Meet Again, If Love Had a Price, If the Sun Never Sets, If We Were Perfect. That series, now that's the series that I don't love as much by her. Like, you don't need to read it. Now, I loved all her ratings, so I wanted to read them, but none of them were that great. Can't even really remember them. That's how much of an impact they had on me. With all of the book bans going around, I did want to force myself to read Animal Farm since I never read it before. I know that it has a very good message. Like, I agree with what it's saying, but it's just hard for me to read, even though it's really tiny. So tiny. And I did read it, but I would rather read like The Hunger Games. That's like a similar message of the rebellion needing to stand up, rather than older books are not my cup of tea, sorry. I read The Striker, another Anna Huang book. Shocker. I did like this one. I think the next book in this series is out. I need to get that, read it. So I do recommend that one. And now this one, Educated by Tara Westover. I have read this a few times. I'd learned about this in like a school book club. Shout out to Abigail for picking this book. You need to read it. You really, really do. It's good to see different perspectives on what people are going through, how having an education can really make a difference in your life like it did for Tara. It's a sad book, but really good. I listened to Paris, the memoir. I love listening to audiobooks that are read by the authors. This one, she talks really fast, and I like to have my audiobooks in like 1.75 speed, so I think I had to slow it down a little bit for her. And there were times where she kept going off topic and she would say it was her ADHD, and I mean that there were some things that made it harder for me to follow, so I left it a few times. I was like, I don't know if I can keep listening, but I did finish it and I did love it. She has went through a lot of traumatic things in her life, and it's nice to hear her talk about them and the work that she's doing to try to help other people to make a difference. I reread the Hunger Games series this year. I will always recommend that. That's like in my all-time top 5 favorites. Especially right now with everything going on in the US, you should definitely read it, watch them. Yes, and the newest movie is coming out, I think this year or next year. The 2 newest books, love them. Those are my absolute favorites. It was making me start to like Snow, like seeing him growing up, but then I kept remembering like him later in life, and that was kind of tough. And then at the end there is such a twist. Read it. I listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama. I want to say the audiobook for this was long, like 15 hours or something, but again, I listened to it on 1.75 speed, so a little faster. I think she had a lot of good things to say. She was also an attorney, and it talks about when she met Barack, her life before all the politics, her journey going to Harvard. She had a lot of good things to say. Here I started changing up the books I was reading, more like shorter ones. The Summer She Went Missing. This one was actually pretty good. I recommend this. It's like a quick read. I started listening to and reading some Frida McFadden books. I'm also not a Frida McFadden fan. I'm sorry, I know. But they're pretty quick reads. They're supposed to be like thrillers, and I mean they have some twists, but none of them like really stuck out to me. I kept giving it another chance, another chance, another chance, and I just couldn't love any of them. Like 3 stars, most of them. I read Finally Fits. This is like a young adult book. I mean, it was a cute read. Lucky Charm. Honestly, this one I cannot remember at all. I was seeing a lot of TikTok videos about Kelsey Haas, so I listened to a few of her books. This one, Hello Fake Boyfriend. I feel like that was a sweet read. I can't remember much about it. Tessa Bailey has also been gaining popularity, so I listened to It Happened One Summer. I do remember that series. That one was super cute. This one's not as fun. I read The Loophole, which is an LSAT study book. Yeah, I read the whole thing, the whole big textbook. Did it help me? Maybe a little. Not enough. Not enough. Don't talk to me about the LSAT ever again. I listened to a few books by Caroline B. Cooney. The Face on the Milk Carton, about a girl who had been missing and then whatever happened to Janie when they'd found her. Those were interesting. It makes you wonder, like, how often does something like this actually happen and nobody knows? So maybe listen to those two. I listened to, here's some more of the Frida ones, The Tenant, The Locked Door, The Devil Wears Scrubs, Ward D, Never Lie, The Coworker, The Gift, Do You Remember, The Teacher, Want to Know a Secret, The Inmate, The Ex. Yeah, none of those were that great to me. I listened to Such Quiet Girls. I feel like this was a thriller one, if I'm remembering the right story here. Another Kelsey Haas, Hello Billionaire, A Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage. That one was an interesting story. It had a twist that you would not have expected. The Sunrise on the Reaping, really good. The Housemaid, that was an interesting one. Still would not rate it like super great, but I am going to go watch the movie for that. Another Tessa Bailey, Unfortunately Yours, that was another cute story. The Housemaid's Secret, The Housemaid's Wedding, which was like a short story to go along with it. So yeah, listen to Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. Let me try to pull this up, I don't remember it. Oh, this one, she's a podcaster and she's getting people to talk about crimes they've committed. That one was more of like a wild ride. You never knew where it was going. I read You by Caroline Kepnes, if I'm saying that right, which there had been the TV series, so I wanted to read it and see how different it was. It was interesting to see the difference. I usually prefer the books, and I did for this too, so you should give them a read. And Hidden Bodies was the next book, and then You Love Me. This is where I started reading Laurie Gilmore. I had seen the cutesy like book covers all over, and I was like, a pumpkin spice book, like I don't need to read that. And a local book club was choosing it, and I was going to go to their event, so I decided to read it. I actually love this series. All the ones that I've read so far I love. I think I finished 2 or 3 of them this month though, so they won't be on my 2025. A Curse for True Love, I got this one in a blind date with a book. It was a wild ride. It's a fantasy book, and I don't normally read fantasy or like romantasy, whatever it would be. The first book might actually be Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't remember which was first. And then there's The Ballad of Never After. You should read this series. Very crazy. Next, I read another one in the You series, For You and Only You. Really good. Secretly Yours, which is another in the Tessa Bailey series. That was a cute book as well. House of Glass, I really recommend this one. This was one of my favorite reads this year. You don't expect what's going to happen at all. I listened to Rustler Mountain by Maisie Yates. Now, I can't remember this one. I know that it was going all over TikTok, and I probably thought it was a cute book. The Fine Print, as well as Terms and Condition by Lauren Asher. I haven't been able to get a hold of the 3rd book to read that one. This was a cute series. It's like the Dreamland Billionaires, if I'm right, which is like Disneyland. It was cute. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So cute. I love this series. You should definitely read it, by Laurie Gilmore. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. Let me see what this one is about. Okay, yeah, Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I recommend reading this one too. This one is weird. It's crazy. You start to put together the pieces as you're reading it, and you're like, okay, that's what happened, and it is wild. The last book that I finished in 2025 was listening to A Very Punchable Face by Colin Jost. He is one of the he's one of the cast members on SNL, and he's super funny. That carried over into his book, his humor, especially like hearing him read it. And it talks about a lot of things that has happened in his life that he's done that you wouldn't have known about if you didn't listen to it. It was a good listen. That was my quick rundown of the 73 books that I read / listened to this year. I would say my favorite reread, of course, would be The Hunger Games. I need to reread Twilight next because that's up there. And then my favorite new series that I read would be the Crave series, and then followed by the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Let me know down below what were a few of your favorite reads for this past year, and how many books you're trying to read in 2026. And I will see you guys soon. Hopefully I'll start posting on this channel more.